Well, hello everyone. So this is devastating news, and I want to talk about solutions. I'm going to share with you what I learned today from a McKinsey study, which I heard about on Breaking Point, and that is about 45%, nearly half of all of the unemployed individuals out there looking for work, they're citing their health as the number one reason as why they can't go back to work. That's devastating. So before the pandemic, the physical and mental health of the country was already in really bad shape and going on a trajectory of that for quite a few years. So that was nothing new. Then when the pandemic hit, it kind of went into overdrive. People are at home, they're not going to work, and people are ordering takeout, they're eating more unhealthy foods, doubling down on the unhealthy behaviors they were already doing before the pandemic, which just made the problem even worse. And now we're a nation that is so sick, both figuratively and metaphorically, that it's affecting even more so every area of our commerce and our economy. But I don't really want to focus on that. I'd rather focus on the individuals as well as the culture that I guess makes this easier to live that way and die that way, unfortunately. So there's a lot of things that feed into this that make it so bad, to make that sickness so bad and the trajectory to keep going down. Unfortunately, that pendulum has not stopped, or certainly hasn't swung back the other direction yet. And it's going to make everything, as it already is, everything more expensive, not just financially, but everything more expensive in terms of how it taxes and burdens our bodies and our minds. So to begin with, let's just start with the government. We have a for-profit healthcare system. They're making a ton of money the sicker that we are. Everything is rigged against us. That is, all the subsidies that go to farmers are going to the farmers that grow GMO crops, unhealthy food in various formats. Therefore, it's a lot cheaper at the grocery store. If a farmer wants to grow healthy organic food, they get zero subsidies, and they have to pay fees on top of that so that they can label it organic. So that's going to be more expensive. Obviously, that's a public policy decision designed to make people sicker so that industry, corporations that bribe our politicians make more money. So the whole thing is rigged and incentivized to make you sicker so they make more money at the expense of your lives. And that's just a point of fact. However, having said all of that, all of us as individuals, we have the agency over our own lives. Unfortunately, a lot of us, culturally speaking, we don't really exercise that agency. We just sort of go with the flow of what government policy has incentivized. That is, a sick country that makes their donors very wealthy. So the solution, among other solutions, but the most important solution, is for us to reclaim our own agency, our individuality, and decide that we're not going to play into that anymore so that they can make more money at the expense of our lives and our kids' lives. Among the trends that's been happening for a very long time is casket makers. Their number one demand is short, wide caskets. The number one rise in demand, I should say. The number one growth in demand, and it's been this way for about a dozen years now, so that's nothing new, but it's for short, wide caskets because we are not a civilized enough society to take care of the most vulnerable, our kids, the ones that aren't old enough yet, the ones that depend on us. They are at our mercy and we're failing them. The number one spike in demand for casket makers for about a dozen years now is short and wide caskets. And that demand is going up and up. And with the pandemic and people exercising terrible lifestyle judgments, it's just increasing that demand even more so, not just on adults, but kids too. Early deaths, there's third graders with medial thickening in their carotid arteries, and that's nothing new. It's just sort of doubled down since the pandemic started. There's 3-year-olds being prescribed antipsychotics to deal with mental health problems. That's nothing new, but it's certainly doubling down from the health pandemic. So we have, and when it comes to agency, consider this. We have a pandemic which is real, and it's a pandemic that exploits more so people that have underlying health problems, people that are unhealthy, people that are obese, and all these co-problems. And so what do we do in response to that? We double down on the unhealthy lifestyles that made us vulnerable to begin with. That's devastatingly self-sabotaging. So we really just have ourselves to blame for that, but that's not to demonize or to hate anybody. So don't interpret it as that. It's not about body shaming or any of that stuff. It's about living a healthy, happy, fulfilling life. So I think the first thing that, in my opinion, that we all have to do is truly start loving each other ourselves. I think it should begin with ourselves. You can have a really great loving connection with yourself and maybe connect with people all day long and support other people, but they also have to be well connected to themselves too. And when you're connecting with people who's connected to themselves and you have a good connection with yourself, well, then there can be a really good, healthy, beautiful two-way street of love, support, connection. And I really do think it starts with all of that. And then from there, nobody's shaming anybody or judging anybody for their lifestyle choices, but we can all learn and grow together and make better choices. And then that's going to lead to more money. It's going to lead to, more importantly, how we feel. We're going to feel better. We're going to have more options in life. We're going to be able to do more, be a better whatever we want to be. That's what all of that stuff leads to. So when it comes to our mental health, this I think is a bigger problem than the physical health. Because if you decide you're going to do something, you can commit yourself to doing it, to figuring it out, and accomplish the most amazing things no matter what. It typically starts with a rock solid decision in your mind. So with mental health, what I've noticed for at least a couple of years now, and even more so the past year or so, is people generally do not nurture their friendships or any relationships that they have with loved ones. People don't check in with one another. People are always too busy. They just don't make the time anymore to nurture a connection. So people feel isolated. People are on their phones instead of with a human being. And there's a lot of technological advances that are used as a crutch to avoid human interaction and human contact. We are hardwired to be social with other human beings. So this has led to, that combined with everything else I've already talked about, has led to tremendous mental health problems. It's the mental health crisis in this country is a pandemic, and it's getting worse and worse by the day. And people are still not checking in with each other. People are still shaming each other. People are still not nurturing relationships. What you nourish will flourish. What you neglect will die. And people's mental health is dying by the droves. And we haven't changed course yet. That is so incredibly sad. I even experience it in my own life. I make it a point to check in with people on a daily basis. Not like the same people every day, but every day, whoever I'm thinking of in my head, I message them to say, hey, how are you? How's your day? How are you doing? Just checking in with you. I do it on a regular basis because I'm aware of how important it is. Now, do I get it in return? I'm just one anecdotal example, but it's very rare that I get it in return. And even that makes me pretty sad. I mean, I'm not like clinically depressed or anything, but I notice it enough to where it's like, oh my God, this is a problem. And I put all this love and energy out into supporting people who I care about, but they don't return it. And I'm an anecdotal story, but it's also representative of a much larger trend, a much larger pattern. And that grows a lot of mental health problems individually with people, as well as it's a cultural, devastating phenomenon. And sadly, people are not changing their ways yet. I guess we haven't hit rock bottom, as bad as it is. All indications signal that it's going to continue getting worse because for whatever reason, we are collectively very slow to come around, and we haven't begun to come around yet to this sad reality. So until we do, it's going to get worse and worse and worse until something happens, some trigger. Maybe it'll take a charismatic leader that gets world attention. I don't know. Something to inspire us. I really don't know what it's going to take. But at this rate, we seem to be like a lobster settling in for a nice warm bath. We will ride this thing all the way to our graves. That's what we're doing right now, and it's devastating, and it's so doom and gloom. But in the back of my mind, there's still hope because we're still alive, some of us, and where there's life, there's hope. So who knows what could possibly happen, what might turn around, if we turn around at all. But so far, it's like we're inside of a burning house that's, slowly making its way towards us, and we're still on the sofa watching TV with fried food, and we're just going to burn alive because it happens slowly enough. We don't really notice it. Just like that lobster settling in for a nice warm bath. And it's so devastatingly self-sabotaging. So I think it all just boils down to the first step. We have to start supporting and loving each other, checking in with each other, letting each other know how we're doing, being honest, open, vulnerable, and loving each other and our vulnerabilities. And if we don't do that, then the mental health problem is not going to go away. It'll continue to get worse. Our kids are going to keep dying. The number one spike in demand for casket makers, for the short, wide ones for our kids, literally, that's objectively true. That's going to continue to grow in demand. And that means we are not a civilized society, because even at the bare minimum, civilized societies will at least care for and protect their kids, the vulnerable ones, but we don't do it. We don't do it. And even as shocking as that is, we still haven't reached a point where we're going to turn around and swing the pendulum the other way. And in my opinion, that is the most devastating news of all of it. It's just so incredibly heartbreaking and sad. Gosh, for all I know, this could be the end of organized life as we know it, and it all goes back to that lobster settling in for a nice warm bath. It happens slowly enough that we just don't seem to care. We don't seem to wake up and do anything about it at all. And there's going to be people out there that are going to say, "What are you? Shame on you! You should be." No, skip all of that. There's always going to be people that do that, but don't listen to them. It's not about shaming or demonizing people because they've made bad decisions up to now. We can all empathize with each other because we've all made bad decisions and bad judgments. So we can all empathize with each other, and we can learn together, and we can grow together and change and swing the pendulum the other way. So that's all I wanted to share with you here. I'll post this on my YouTube as well. And for some deeper solutions beyond the first step I talked about, with the information age of the internet and technology and things being so readily accessible and available by our fingertips, you can do endless searches for healthy recipes, healthy foods, healthy lifestyles. There's workouts everywhere for free now. You can Google YouTube. You can go to my website, tomberkenmeyer.com. I've got hundreds of healthy recipes. I have a huge Get Healthy section, a huge healthy grocery list. It's all there for you guys for free. I've got, how many workouts do I have now? I don't remember, but it's something, I want to say 60 or 50 or 60 something free workouts I've done. And it's all just body weight stuff. So you don't need any equipment, and modifications are built in, and it's designed for, to be accessible for anybody that wants to do it. And the recipes I've got 150 something, well over 100, probably closing in on 200 videos soon of just healthy recipes you can make. So just get into that stuff. My stuff, other people's stuff. There's tons of stuff that's for free, and free means it's easy. Free means it's easy. You can do it. Okay? That's all I got for you guys. If you want to share your ideas for some more solutions, I'd love to read it. And I will check back on this later. Bye for now, everybody. Mwah.